welcome. Today I want to talk about tactics, in particular about entering a fight. When you decide to attack your opponent from a ward, you basically have the choice between a thrust and a blow. Now, when we look at reach, you will notice that any human being has its maximum reach at shoulder level. So when I raise my hand and my weapon to the height of the shoulder, I have a maximum range, and that is basically the reach of a thrust. In contrast, if I strike a blow, say from my right shoulder, I strike it in such a fashion in medieval swordsmanship that the blade forms a barrier against an incoming attack. So my weapon covers me and closes the attack lines of my opponent. In order to do so, I have to lower my hand and slightly cross my arm in front of my torso. So striking a covering blow comes at a price, because that also means that I lose reach. If I compare reach of a covering blow to that of a thrust, there's quite a noticeable difference in range. So you can see that a thrust has always more reach than a covering blow. So what does that mean in terms of tactics? If I insist on striking my opponent into head or neck, I have to get closer to him than he towards me if he was thrusting at me. So that means that I have to bridge a longer distance to get into range, and bridging distance takes time, so he will be in range sooner than I will be, and that's no option in fencing. White distance, or white measure, is the distance at which the technical part of a fight starts, and that distance is defined by the maximum distance that either combatant can cover with one single action, and that will always be the thrust. There is no way around it. This is defined by anatomy. So that means if I strike my blow from white measure, I have to strike my blow from thrusting distance. So if I decide to attack my opponent with a blow, and I strike this blow from thrusting distance, my blow will of course fall too short to reach his neck or head. So while I cannot reach him with my blow, I have managed to get much closer to the target. All the while I'm safe, because if my blow can't hit him, his blow can't hit me either. However, I'm close enough to hit him with a thrust, because I struck my blow from thrusting distance. So all I have to do is extend my arms into a thrust. Of course, my opponent can do the same thing, so I have to make sure that his blade does not pass mine unhindered, or else the encounter is likely to result in a double kill. Not a desirable outcome. And he is well advised to do the same thing. So a blade bind is very likely to ensue. Note that this is a situation that most of the plays from the historical fencing treatises start from. This bind is my friend. Remember, I'm still in reach of his thrust, so I need all the information I can get, and the bind provides me with all I need to know what is required next. A bind provides me with sensory information, which is much faster processed by the brain than visual information. So the bind tells me what he is up to next and what I can and should do, depending on the pressure signals I receive. If instead my opponent attacks me with a thrust, I will of course get into his reach. But even though the thrust is the fastest and most direct attack, it still has to bridge that distance, and bridging distance takes time. So while I'm striking my blow, I have this time at my disposal to deviate my blade in order to deal with his thrust accordingly. So what do the sources say to this tactical approach? Well, if we look at the first buckler play by Dimicator, he advises that once you have struck a blow from your right shoulder, you should next thrust at your opponent from below. Now this is not possible if I had aimed that blow directly to this head, because then my point would hardly be in a position from where I can thrust from below. Likewise, the oldest fencing treatise, that is the manuscript 133, shows a technique where a combatant is striking a blow from a ward, but the aim is to separate the opponent's weapon. Again, we can see that he's striking from a wider distance. In fact, this is the only blow that is directly struck from a ward in the entire manual. So it seems very recommendable that when you are practicing striking your blows from your wards, that you always also train to extend into a thrust in order to condition your body appropriately. My fencing has benefited from that tremendously, and it is quite astonishing how much time you have at your disposal if you do not charge in as you enter a fight, insisting on striking your opponent into the head. So I hope you find this entertaining and useful for your training, and I thank you a lot for your attention.